There is someone in your life who smiles at your face while calculating the exact weight of your downfall. They don't want your success, they want your submission. You think you're networking or being a good friend, but to the 7 predators currently nesting in your life, you are nothing more than a resource to be harvested until you are empty. You aren't failing because you lack talent. You are failing because you are compromised. You have allowed social vultures to occupy your most private spaces, and they are eating your reputation from the inside out. They know your secrets, they've mapped your weaknesses, and they are using your own decency to build the cage you will eventually live in. Machiavelli warned that it is far safer to be feared than loved. Yet you are obsessed with being liked by people who wouldn't even show up to your funeral unless there was a networking opportunity. You are playing a game of loyalty in a room full of people playing a game of logistics. Today, we are stopping the bleed. We are performing a clinical Machiavellian audit of your entire social DNA. We are going to name the 7 specific types of people you must delete from your life immediately, not because it's toxic, but because it is a matter of strategic survival. If you feel a cold knot in your stomach as we go through this list, it's because you already recognize the faces. You've seen the signs, but you were too nice to act. That hesitation is exactly what they are banking on. This is not a self-help video. This is a manual for the removal of human liabilities. Every second you spend trying to save these people is a second you are handing them the blade. Listen carefully. This is the end of your exploitation. 1. The debt manufacturer, the false martyr. You think you're being supported, but you're actually being colonized. The debt manufacturer is the most dangerous kind of social parasite because they wear the mask of a saint. They are the ones who show up to help you when you didn't ask. They bring you opportunities you didn't seek. They vouch for you in rooms you could have entered on your own merit, and they do it all with a very specific, calculated energy. Watch their body language. They don't just help, they perform. They make sure you see the sweat. They make sure you hear the heavy sigh. They want the memory of their sacrifice to be burned into your brain like a brand. In the world of high-stakes power, there is no such thing as a free lunch, and this person is the ultimate debt collector. They aren't interested in your success, they are interested in your submission. Machiavelli understood that the strongest bond isn't love, it's obligation. The debt manufacturer uses kindness to build a psychological reservoir of guilt. They are waiting for the moment you try to level up without them. They are waiting for the day you set a boundary they don't like. That's when the trap springs. They will look you in the eye and say, "After everything I've done for you, how could you be so ungrateful?" This is a clinical strike against your autonomy. By accepting their unsolicited help, you have unknowingly signed a contract with a 500% interest rate. They want to own your future decisions. They want to be the invisible hand that moves you, using your own decency as the leash. If you don't comply with their every whim, they won't just walk away. They will go to your entire network and paint you as a heartless, ungrateful sociopath. They will destroy your reputation to protect their martyr status. The social interaction is always the same. They remind you of their sacrifices in the middle of a conflict. When you finally stand up for yourself, when you try to set a boundary, or when you decide to partner with someone more powerful than them, they pull the cord. "After everything I've done for you, how could you treat me like this?" Suddenly, you aren't a man making a strategic decision. You are an ungrateful monster in the eyes of everyone who knows you both. They have weaponized your own conscience against you. This person is not a friend. They are a credit collector with a 500% interest rate. They don't want you to succeed. They want you to be indebted. By accepting their help, you are handing them a remote control for your emotions. They want you to stay small enough to always need them, because the moment you become self-sufficient, their leverage vanishes. They will poison your reputation by telling others how unappreciative you are the second you stop obeying. You aren't being supported, you are being colonized. If you want to walk among the elite, you cannot carry the weight of someone else's manufactured suffering. Delete them. 2. The shame merchant, the debt collector of the past. The second person you are carrying is a lead weight on your reputation. This is the shame merchant. No matter how much you have evolved, no matter how many zeros are in your bank account, or how much authority you project, this person refuses to let the old you die. They are the keepers of your lowest moments, and they use that history as an anchor to keep you from ever truly rising. They are the historians of your failures. No matter how much money you make, how much muscle you build, or how much respect you command in your industry, this person refuses to let the old you die. Imagine you are at a high-stakes networking event. You are talking to a potential mentor or a powerful investor. You are doing everything right. Body language is solid. Voice is controlled. You are projecting the winner you have become. And then the shame merchant leans in a voice just a little too loud. They bring up the time you were broke, the time you got dumped, or that embarrassing mistake you made back in school. They do it with a smile. They call it keeping you grounded. They call it knowing where you came from. It isn't a joke. It's a surgical strike on your status. The shame merchant is a leak in your vault. They are telling the room, and more dangerously, telling your subconscious that your current power is a mask. They are trying to level you. They need to remind the world that you are just a lucky amateur, because if they admit you've truly changed, they have to admit they've stayed exactly the same. Machiavelli warned that those who have seen you in your weakness will rarely respect you in your strength. The shame merchant is a leak in your hull that you cannot plug. Every time you project power, they poke a hole in it. They want to keep you in a box where they were the superior one. They aren't keeping it real, they are keeping you buried. The shame merchant hates your progress because it proves their stagnation is a choice. They don't want a peer, they want a subordinate who shares their history of failure. By keeping them in your life, you are giving a witness to your past the power to testify against your future. You cannot rewrite your story if you keep the person around who is constantly crossing out your new chapters with red ink. Loyalty to a person who weaponizes your past is just a slow form of social suicide. They aren't your oldest friend, they are your most persistent enemy. If you are going to climb the mountain, you have to leave the person behind who keeps reminding you of the dirt at the bottom. Stop, take a breath and look at your phone. If a name popped into your head while I was speaking, that's your instinct telling you the hunt has already begun. You've been tolerating these anchors because you've been taught that loyalty is a virtue, but in the game of power, loyalty to a liability is a death sentence. But we aren't even through the front door yet. Those two were just the anchors. The next person we are about to discuss is far more dangerous because they don't use your past or your guilt. They use your trust. They are the reason your secrets aren't safe and why your biggest moves always seem to get sabotaged before they even start. 3. The vulnerability trapper, the strategic sharer. If the first two were about your past, this one is about your immediate future. This is the most surgical predator in the social game. You meet someone new, or maybe you've known them for a while, and within the first hour the walls come down. They tell you something dangerous. They share a deep trauma, a secret legal struggle, or a massive insecurity. They look you in the eye and say, "I've never told anyone this before." You feel a rush of dopamine. You feel special. You think you've skipped the small talk and found a real connection. This triggers the psychological law of reciprocity. Your brain screams at you to match their level of trust. You feel obligated to pay back their vulnerability with your own. So you open up. You tell them about your hidden business plans, your marriage problems, or your fear of failure. You didn't just find a friend, you just walked into a police interrogation and handed over the evidence. This person is the vulnerability trapper. That secret they told you, it was bait. It was likely exaggerated or a calculated lie designed to bypass your social immune system. They overshare to force you into a corner where you feel like a jerk if you stay guarded. In the world of the elite, the person who speaks first loses the war. While you are feeling the bond, they are taking mental notes. They are mapping your pressure points. Now they know exactly what makes you flinch, what makes you angry, and what makes you weak. They own the information balance. They have a dossier on you, and you have a fake story about them. The moment you become an obstacle to their ambition, they won't have to outwork you. They will simply leak the real you to the people who matter most. You gave them the bullets and stood in front of the gun because you wanted to feel seen. Delete them. You must understand this. Silence is power. When you reveal your inner world to a stranger just because they acted vulnerable, you are broadcasting that you are easily manipulated. You are showing the predators that all it takes to get into your head is a sad story. To the elite, you look like a child. You look like someone who can be bought with a deep conversation. Stop looking for real and start looking for reliable. A man who tells you everyone's business will tell everyone your business. The person who gives you a secret they haven't told anyone has told 10 other people that same week just to see what they could extract. You are not connected. You are being interrogated by a pro. You're starting to realize that the person you thought was your deepest friend might actually be your most surgical collector. The weight you feel in your chest right now is your survival instinct finally waking up. But we aren't done. We have dealt with the people who steal your secrets. Now we move to the people who steal your life force. The next person doesn't want your data. They want your energy, your status, and your oxygen. They are the ones who turn your success into a communal bank account while they live in a state of permanent, manufactured chaos. Pay attention. 4. The resource vampire, the perpetual project. The first 3 were about your past and your secrets. Now we are entering the territory of the social siphon. The next person you must identify and cut out is the resource vampire, also known as the perpetual project. You know this person. They are the friend who is in a state of constant high-stakes crisis that only you can solve. Every week is a new tragedy, a new legal headache, a new unfair firing, or a new emotional collapse. They don't call you to celebrate your wins. They call you to act as a shield for their incompetence. They treat your life, your success, and your stability as a communal bank account that they are entitled to withdraw from whenever they fail to manage their own reality. In the world of the elite, energy is a zero-sum game. Every minute you spend being the unpaid consultant or the emotional therapist for a person who refuses to grow is a minute you are not building your own empire. The resource vampire doesn't actually want a solution. If you give them the perfect plan to fix their life, they will find a reason why it won't work. They don't want to get out of the hole. They want you to jump into the hole with them so they aren't lonely. They use emergency as a social hook. They make you feel like a hero for saving them. It's a subtle form of ego manipulation. They make you feel powerful by being completely powerless. But notice what happens when you need a favor. When you are the one in the trenches, the resource vampire is suddenly overwhelmed by their own drama. They have no room for your needs because they've filled the entire room with their own manufactured chaos. Some people stay in a state of failure because it is the only way they can force high-status people to pay attention to them. It is a parasitic survival strategy. They are trauma dumping on you to keep you distracted from your own trajectory. Machiavelli would tell you that fortune favors the bold, but it flees from the exhausted. If you keep trying to save people who are drowning by choice, they will eventually pull you under just to use your body as a float. You are not a savior. You are a victim of a professional looter. Stop treating your kindness like an infinite resource. If they haven't fixed their life after the 3rd crisis, they aren't unlucky. They are calculated. Delete them. 5. The silent collector, the information vacuum. Now we move from the person who takes your time to the person who is surgically extracting your power map. This is the silent collector, or the information vacuum. This is the most dangerous person at the networking table because they are the only ones who actually know how to play the game. The silent collector is a master of the one-way mirror. In every social interaction, they are the best listener you've ever met. They ask deep, probing, surgical questions about your business, your profit margins, your relationship struggles, and your future plans. They nod, they validate, they make you feel like the most interesting person in the world. But pay attention to the exchange rate. By the end of a 2-hour dinner, they know your entire social DNA, but you don't even know what they do for a living or where they stand on anything. If someone knows your map but keeps their own territory completely hidden, they aren't your friend, they are your auditor. They use active listening as a weapon. They stay in the shadows of the conversation. While everyone else is bragging or oversharing, the silent collector is taking mental notes. They are looking for your price. They are looking for the one thing they can use to leverage you later. They are the ones who will stay silent while you complain about a mutual contact, only to use that information to gain favor with that person the next day. Knowledge is the ultimate currency. If you are giving away 100% of your data for 0% of theirs, you aren't in a partnership, you are being scouted by a competitor. The elite never reveal their hand until the game is over. The silent collector is treating you like a source of intelligence, not a human being. They are building a dossier on you, so that when the time comes to move against you, they don't have to guess where to strike. They already have the blueprints. The next time they ask a probing question, stay silent. Watch how uncomfortable they get. That discomfort is the mask slipping. Delete them. We are moving into the final stages of the audit. You have identified the people who steal your past, your secrets, your time, and your data. But we haven't touched the person who attacks you, where it hurts most. The next person doesn't hide in the shadows. They wait for the light. They wait for an audience. They are the ones who train the world to see you as a target. If you've ever felt a joke land like a knife in a room full of people, you already know who we're talking about. 6. The status leech. The seasonal user. We are entering the final, most cold-blooded layer of the audit. If the previous archetypes were parasites of your emotion or your information, the person we are discussing now is a parasite of your identity. This is the status leech, also known as the seasonal user. This is the individual who treats your life like a retail store. They only show up when you have something in stock that they want to consume. You will recognize them by their perfect timing. When you are in the trenches, when you are grinding, when your bank account is low, when your reputation is being attacked, or when you are simply uncool to be around, the status leech is nowhere to be found. They don't answer the phone. They are busy with vague projects. They disappear into the fog of the social background. But the second you catch a win, the moment you get that promotion, buy that car, or get seen with someone truly powerful, they reappear with a smile that feels like it was practiced in a mirror. They are your biggest fan. They are the first to post a photo with you to prove they were there from the beginning. They treat your success as a communal resource, sliding into your DMs to ask for just one quick intro or a small favor that leverages the hard-won respect you've built with the elite. They don't want to build a life with you. They want to live off the scraps of the life you've built for yourself. They are masters of the proximity flex. In public, they will act like your right-hand man to absorb your authority by association. They will drop your name in rooms you aren't in to bypass social filters they haven't earned the right to cross. But the moment you experience a dip in momentum, they treat your phone calls like spam. They aren't loyal to a person. They are loyal to a level. If you fall below that level, you cease to exist to them. You must accept that for some people you are not a human being. You are a stepping stone. The status leech is not loyal to you. They are loyal to your momentum. They respect you only when you have the power to say no, and they exploit you only when you are nice enough to say yes. If you keep giving, they will keep taking until there is nothing left of your reputation but a hollow shell. They are the ones who will stand in the light of your success and then cast a shadow over you when the sun moves. Machiavelli observed that men are ungrateful, fickle, deceptive, and greedy of gain. The status leech is the embodiment of this truth. They respect you only when you have the power to say no and have it hurt them. You must realize that kindness to a leech is viewed as weakness. They don't think you're being a good friend. They think you're a fool who doesn't know his own worth. They will drain your network, exhaust your favors, and tarnish your reputation by acting on your behalf without your permission. Every intro you give them is a piece of your reputation you are putting at risk. Delete them. This is not about being mean. It is about protecting the garden you worked so hard to grow. In the world of the powerful, your inner circle is your bunker. You cannot have people in the bunker who are secretly looking for the exit the moment the first shell hits. True allies are forged in the cold, not in the sunshine. If they weren't with you when you were nothing, they have no right to be with you when you are everything. Stop being a bridge for people who wouldn't even offer you a hand if you were falling. Brace yourself. We have identified the parasites, the spies, and the leeches. You have seen the faces of the people who have been slowing your ascent. You are likely feeling a mixture of anger and a cold, rising clarity. But we have one person left. This is the most lethal individual of all. They don't hide in the shadows. They don't wait for you to succeed. They attack you in the open. But they do it in a way that makes you feel like the crazy one for noticing. This is the final boss of the Machiavellian audit. 7. The public executioner. The banter mask. We have arrived at the most dangerous social predator in your life. This is the one you've likely been excusing for years because you didn't want to look sensitive. This is the public executioner. This person does not attack you in private. They don't have the courage for a one-on-one confrontation. Instead, they wait. They wait for the group chat to be active. They wait for the dinner party to hit its peak, or they wait for the boardroom to fall silent. Then they strike. They deliver a lethal insult, bring up a humiliating failure, or undermine your professional authority, all wrapped in the protective packaging of banter, sarcasm, or just a joke. If you react with anger, they win. They label you as emotional and incapable of taking a joke. If you stay silent, they win. The crowd subconsciously accepts your lower status as the new social reality. They have placed you in a strategic checkmate, in front of the very people you are trying to lead or impress. This is not humor. It is a surgical dominance display. The public executioner is training the group to see you as a safe target. They are testing your frame to see if it's hollow. Every time you let a joke slide at your own expense, you are giving the room permission to disrespect you. You are signaling that your dignity is negotiable. By keeping this person in your circle, you are hosting your own executioner and paying for the privilege with your reputation. Delete them. The audit is complete, but the work hasn't even begun. The moment this video ends, you are faced with a choice. You can go back to the comfortable lies of your current circle, or you can begin the cold, clinical process of deletion. You came here looking for a list, but what you've found is a mirror. You now see the faces. You recognize the debt manufacturer who owns your guilt, the shame merchant who owns your past, and the public executioner who owns your dignity. You realize that your life has become a crowded room full of people who are not there to support you, but to harvest you. Machiavelli once wrote that the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Look at yours. If your circle is filled with liabilities, you are not a leader, you are a host. You are being held back, not by a lack of opportunity, but by the friction of your own associations. The nice version of you is the one that got you into this mess. The version of you that feared being too harsh or too cold is the one that allowed these parasites to nest in your life. But that version of you has no place in the world of high-status dominance. To move forward, you must be willing to burn the bridges that lead to nowhere. You must have the stomach to delete people who have been in your life for decades if they no longer serve the vision of who you are becoming. This is where understanding settles and avoidance collapses. You can no longer pretend you don't see the signs. You can no longer ignore the knot in your stomach when certain names appear on your phone. The pressure you feel right now is the weight of your own potential, demanding that you clear the path. If you recognize the necessity of this audit, if you understand that protecting your environment is the first law of power, then align yourself with this movement. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. This isn't a favor to me, it is an acknowledgement to yourself that you are done with the soft delusions of the average mind. It is your commitment to the journey of dominance and clarity. For those who are ready to go deeper, those who want the scripts, the deep layer strategies, and access to the inner circle where we discuss the moves others are too afraid to make, join the membership. The link is below. This is the inner circle. It is where we strip away the remaining filters and master the mechanics of control that the world tries to hide from you. You can stay outside with the masses, or you can move forward with those who understand the game. The choice, as always, is yours. But the door is closing. Thank you for staying until the end. Most people don't have the discipline to look their own failures in the eye for this long. You've earned this insight. You've earned the clarity. But clarity without execution is just another form of entertainment, and I am not here to entertain you. The audit is over. The names are clear. Now do what must be done. One will see you inside the circle.